Welcome back to Clark's Ring Rants. Let's get straight into today's video. So, Slender Man Sebastian Fundora beats up and stops Keith Thurman in 6 one-sided rounds to retain his WBC Super Welterweight world title over in America. It was a pretty one-sided fight. Keith Thurman was never really in it. It was one-way traffic from the get-go. Coming into this fight, you had Sebastian Fundora making the 3rd defence of his world title. He's an absolute freak of nature. 28 years old, 24 wins, 1 defeat. He's 6'5". He's got an 80-inch reach. How on earth is he fighting down at 154? I'll never know. But he seems to make the weight quite comfortably. And as long as he can do that, he's going to be a threat to anyone. Nobody's going to be able to match him height-wise, reach-wise, arm length-wise. He's just got that big, horrible style with those long arms. He even fights out of a southpaw stance to make things even trickier for his opponents. He's a real handful, although he has been beaten before, which suggests he could be beaten again. However, that was never, ever going to be the case in this fight. Like I said, it was one-way traffic. He put a beating on Thurman. He hit him with a 1-2 pretty much in the first 10 seconds of the fight, and that pretty much set the tone of it. Despite him being a really, really tall fighter, Sebastian Fundora often gives up his reach and fights fighters close up and gets himself into a bit of unnecessary bother. But this is something he started to perfect and iron out of his game in the last few fights. He's really started to work on that jab, controlling the distance. I mean, because why would you not? You've got big octopus arms. You've got like a 10-inch reach advantage on most people you fight. You may as well use it to your advantage. And Keith Thurman, despite his best efforts, he hung in there tough, he was brave, he was game. He just couldn't get past those long octopus arms of Fundora. He found himself on the end of that thudding jab and that left hand all night long. And he had absolutely no answer for it. He tried to close the gap a few times. He slung in a few big overhand rights, but it was never, ever going to be enough to beat Sebastian Fundora. Now, I'm not saying Sebastian Fundora's any pound-for-pound level talent, but he's going to be a problem for guys at 154. Even Boots Ennis and Vergil Ortiz, they've got to get to grips with that style. There's no way you can prepare for that. A 6'5" guy with an 80-inch reach, how are you going to prepare yourself for that? You've got to somehow get inside that reach and drag him into a dogfight. Vergil Ortiz and Boots Ennis, they're probably going to be capable of this, but listen, if he gets into a rhythm and sticks them behind a jab, who knows? As for the other champions, Xander Zayas, Josh Kelly, not sure how interested in that fight they're going to be, but we'll have to see moving forward. What will Sebastian Fundora do next? I have to say as well, he's improved so much since that sole defeat to Brian Mendoza nearly 3 years ago. He's come on leaps and bounds. He's bounced back. He had those 2 victories over Tim Tszyu, and the world is his oyster. He is essentially now the man in the 154-pound division. Some people, after this fight, they've been calling him a weight bully. They said he needs to fight people his own size, but bro, who is he going to fight that's his own size? He's actually the tallest world champion in boxing right now. He's taller than Fabio Wardley, who's the heavyweight world champion. So what exactly do they mean by someone the same size? It's not as if he's tight at the weight. He makes it quite easily. But I suppose he could go up. He could go up to middleweight. But even then, he's going to be bigger than everyone. Again, he goes up to super middleweight. You've only really got Hamza Shiraz, who's another big lanky fighter. But other than that, he's going to tower over anyone he fights, even if he moved up all the way to light heavyweight, which I don't know if he's got the frame for. But yeah, he's just a big, massive, lanky beanpole of a fighter. So I think to call him a weight bully is a bit of an unfair criticism to level at Sebastian Fundora. He's just got really weird, awkward dimensions that you're probably never going to see again, or it's very, very unlikely we're going to see again. So just enjoy the freak show for what it is. And as for Keith Thurman, it speaks to the state of boxing over in America, and especially on PBC, that in 2026, they're to dig up the corpse of Keith Thurman to stick in there with Sebastian Fundora, their champion. That was the best they were able to come up with for him. 37 years old, like I say, washed up, way past his best. 2 fights in 7 years. What were they expecting? He's never even been a 154-pounder. I mean, I think his last fight against Brock Jarvis may have been at 154, but his whole career, he's campaigned at welterweight. So essentially what we've got is a blown up, washed up welterweight challenging a fighter in the prime of his life. it was a mismatch on paper, and it proved to be a mismatch in the ring. What will Keith Thurman do next? I mean, if I were him, I'd pack it in completely. I mean, he's been semi-retired since 2017, I guess you could say, when he unified, he beat Danny Garcia. Since then, he had a 2-year layoff. He fought in 2019. He beat Josecito Lopez. He didn't look convincing in that fight, and then he lost to Manny Pacquiao, a fight he really should have won. If he started a bit quicker, I believe he would have won that fight. Then he went AWOL for nearly another 3 years. He resurfaced in 2022. He beat Mario Barrios over a 12-round decision. Then he went into exile for another 3 years, playing the flute in the middle of nowhere. He came back, he fought Brock Jarvis, battered him, knocked him out in 3 rounds. But Brock Jarvis, no great shakes or anything, no disrespect to him. And then he challenges Sebastian Fundora a year on from that. In a fight, he was outmatched, he was outgunned, and he posed absolutely zero threat to Fundora in there. I can't even remember him landing a significant blow. It was like the equivalent of someone turning up to a gunfight with a plastic knife. He didn't stand a cat in hell's chance. He took a beating. I saw in the post-fight press conference, he was protesting the stoppage. He said he could have carried on. He said something big was coming, but no. The writing was on the wall, and he was only going to take a worse beating than he already did. And those are the worst types of beatings you can take as a fighter. It's not the one-punch knockouts that finish you. It's the fights where you're taking a sustained whooping over a number of rounds. I mean, if you look at Keith Thurman's face in that presser after the fight, it looks like someone had thrown a pizza at a wall. It was just a mess. There was red everywhere. He was bruised. He was cut. I mean, he wasn't slurring his words. He didn't sound punch drunk or anything, but that's because he's been semi-retired. He's been on holiday for the last 7 years. So he's still relatively fresh, but his body's breaking down. He's not got the athleticism, the speed he once had. He's a faded force. And Keith Thurman, it really is a question of what could have been and what if, because he was on top of the world in 2017. He was a unified champion, and then, I don't know, did he lose love for the game? Was it the injuries? Was it contractual situations we're not aware of? Because it almost sort of feels like Keith Thurman never really fulfilled his potential. We never saw him fight Crawford. We never saw him fight Spence. We never saw him fight Kell Brook. I mean, he's got them 2 good wins over Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, but other than that, I guess it's a case of what if for Keith Thurman, and it's too little too late now at 37. I don't really see him making a comeback. I'm not sure who there is out there that he could beat, any real money fights. I don't know. What could have been Keith Thurman? But the main story here is Sebastian Fundora puts on a clinic. He beats the brakes off of Keith Thurman and stops him in 6 one-sided rounds. What would you like to see Fundora do next? Who would you like to see him take on? Boots Ennis, Vergil Ortiz. He could unify with Zayas. Could Josh Kelly tempt him over to the UK for that fight? A big unification fight up in Sunderland. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.